It's just heartbreaking. It's just so heartbreaking.
I've got a daughter of my own, and it's just made me, I don't know what to say. Just know what to say.
The Southport riots, ignited by the tragic stabbing of 3 children at a Taylor Swift dance school, evolved into a significant confrontation between the residents and the police. The violent reaction to this heinous crime exposed deep-seated tensions within the community, leading to a night of chaos and destruction that has since become a somber chapter in Southport's history.
There's fury on the streets of Southport tonight as crowds gathered outside a local mosque and turned on police. It's in response to the deaths of 3 young girls who were stabbed to death at a dance class in the school yesterday morning. Community leaders are appealing for calm, and police have not released further details of the 17-year-old man they're holding in connection with the killings.
Before we start, hit the like and subscribe buttons for more exclusive news. The Taylor Swift Dance School was a cherished institution in Southport, known for its nurturing environment and dedication to fostering young talent.
It is the hardest thing that it's children, you know, the innocence and, you know, the Taylor Swift connection, joy, happiness, laughter on the first day of the, you know, real summer holidays, then going to the screams and the silence, that whole soundtrack of life yesterday.
On what seemed like an ordinary day, a horrific incident shattered this peaceful haven.
Brutal stabbing has shaken the nation. 11 children and 2 adults were stabbed on Monday in the town of Southport in northwest England. 3 of the children died. They were young girls, 6, 7 and 9 years old. The attacker was a 17-year-old boy. His motives are not known yet, but we do have some information about him. The attacker grew up in Cardiff in Wales. His family had migrated there from Rwanda. They moved to Southport in 2013. That's all we know for a fact.
A 17-year-old Rwandan man, whose motivations remain a subject of intense investigation and speculation, attacked and fatally stabbed 3 children. The news of this brutal act spread rapidly, sending shockwaves through the community and beyond.
17-year-old male from Banks in Lancashire, who is originally from Cardiff, has been arrested on suspicion of murder and attempted murder. And he's being taken to a police station where he will be interviewed by detectives.
Parents, students, and residents were united in their grief, struggling to comprehend the senseless violence that had befallen their town. The immediate aftermath of the tragedy saw an outpouring of grief and anger from the residents of Southport.
My daughter comes here all the time. That's my uncle's house. We know the girls that were teaching, we know the girls that were involved. It's just horrendous. It's horrendous.
It was the best place for her to be at that time. She was safer. I knew she was safe, I knew she was okay, but then my heart just goes out to the poor parents that, you know, the children went to a holiday club and they never came home. It's just heartbreaking. It's just so heartbreaking.
I've got a daughter of my own, and it's just made me, I don't know what to say. Just know what to say.
Vigils were held and flowers and tributes piled up outside the dance school, creating a poignant memorial to the young lives lost.
How many more children, Prime Minister? Are we going to do something?
However, as the initial shock wore off, the sorrow quickly transformed into a potent mix of anger and frustration.
Now, though, to Southport, and hundreds of people have attended a vigil last night to pay tribute to the 3 girls who were killed there in a knife attack at a children's dance workshop. Just hours later, violent clashes broke out close to where the girls were stabbed to death. 39 police officers were injured, with 27 needing hospital treatment. Merseyside police described the violence as sickening, and the Prime Minister warned that the rioters would feel the full force of the law.
The community demanded answers and justice, and emotions ran high as the town grappled with the horrifying reality of the children's deaths. Southport, like many towns, had its share of underlying tensions. Issues of immigration, integration, and community cohesion had long simmered beneath the surface. The fact that the perpetrator of the stabbing was a 17-year-old Rwandan man only served to exacerbate these issues.
After the attack, some rumors started doing the rounds. Rumors about the suspect's religious identity. Some people from out of Southport decided to act on the rumors. Hundreds descended upon the town in mourning. and unleashed violence at a mosque near the site of the stabbings,
bringing them to the forefront in a most tragic and violent manner.
Drew, what more do we know about that investigation?
Well, let's start with the suspect who remains in police custody tonight, accused of murder and attempted murder after being arrested by armed police yesterday. We know that he's a 17-year-old male from Banks, which is a village just to the north of here, and that he was born in Cardiff. He hasn't been named by police and he can't be identified for legal reasons due to his age. Officers continuing to question him, trying to work out a motive. Generally, what happens is the police have 24 hours after they arrest a suspect.
Rumors and misinformation began to circulate, fueling a growing sense of fear and resentment. Social media played a significant role in amplifying these sentiments, with inflammatory posts and calls to action spreading like wildfire. The tipping point came when a large crowd gathered in Southport to express their outrage and demand justice. What began as a peaceful protest quickly escalated into a volatile situation. Chants of "Keep Britain British" echoed through the streets as the crowd swelled in size and intensity.
Yeah, this is rapidly turning into quite an ugly situation outside a mosque about 10 minutes away from the scene. And just to talk to the pictures that we have here, it has got so severe that there is something. It is not quite clear at this stage what is on fire, but what appears to potentially be a vehicle of some description on fire. This is happening outside Southport.
The sentiment behind the slogan was clear: a call for a return to perceived traditional values and a rejection of the multicultural fabric that had come to define modern Britain. As the protest continued, tensions between the demonstrators and the police began to escalate. The police, already on high alert following the stabbings, were tasked with maintaining order amidst an increasingly agitated crowd. The atmosphere grew more charged by the minute, with pockets of the crowd becoming increasingly aggressive. What started as vocal demonstrations of grief and anger soon morphed into outright hostility.
There's the fake news! Left-wing fake news! We're not going to take a picture of that
As night fell, the situation in Southport deteriorated rapidly. Clashes between the protesters and police became more frequent and violent. Reports indicate that the catalyst for the full-scale riot was a confrontation between a small group of demonstrators and a line of police officers attempting to contain the crowd. The police, facing a barrage of projectiles and verbal abuse, attempted to disperse the crowd. But their efforts only seemed to intensify the anger and aggression of the rioters. The scene turned chaotic as more people joined the fray. Shouts and chants filled the air, mingling with the sounds of breaking glass and the wail of sirens. The protesters, fueled by a potent mix of grief, anger, and a desire for retribution, targeted the police with increasing ferocity. The officers, in turn, struggled to maintain control amidst the escalating violence. Several officers were injured in the skirmishes, further inflaming the already volatile situation. The chaos reached its peak when a police van was set alight, its flames casting an eerie glow over the streets of Southport. The burning van became a symbol of the night's unrest, a stark illustration of the breakdown of order and the extent of the community's anger. As the fire raged, the rioters continued their assault, with many focusing their efforts on vandalizing property and clashing with law enforcement. In the midst of the turmoil, the chants of "Keep Britain British" grew louder and more fervent. For many rioters, these words encapsulated their frustrations and fears. The slogan, while deeply divisive,
Not getting a better view than this! You live every day.
On the roof, provided a rallying cry for those who felt that their way of life was under threat. The tragic events at the dance school had become a flashpoint, igniting long-standing grievances and prejudices within the community. The night of the riots left Southport scarred, both physically and emotionally. The damage to property was extensive, with numerous businesses and homes bearing the marks of the night's violence. More importantly, the community itself was left deeply divided and traumatized by the events.
Riots erupted on the streets of Southport last night, following a knife attack on Monday, which left 3 girls dead and other young children in a critical condition. Rioters gathered around a mosque not far from the scene of the stabbings. Vehicles were set alight and projectiles thrown at riot police by people believed to be supporters of the English Defence League.
The families of the victims at the dance school were forced to navigate their grief amidst the turmoil, seeking solace in a town that had been torn apart by the riots. In the days that followed, efforts were made to restore order and begin the process of healing. Authorities launched investigations into the riots, aiming to identify those responsible for the violence and bring them to justice. Community leaders and local officials called for unity and understanding, urging residents to come together in the face of the tragedy. However, the wounds left by the riots and the underlying issues they exposed would not be easily healed. As the investigations continued, the community grappled with difficult questions. What had driven the 17-year-old Rwandan man to commit such a heinous act? How had the town's underlying tensions been allowed to fester to the point of explosion? And most importantly, what steps could be taken to prevent such a tragedy from occurring again?
I came here to pay my respects to the victims and families who are going through raw pain and grief that most of us can't imagine. I can't imagine as a dad myself. I think it touches a nerve with the whole country.
Experts and commentators weighed in on the factors that had contributed to the riots. Some pointed to socioeconomic issues, arguing that poverty and lack of opportunity had fueled the unrest. Others highlighted the role of social media in spreading misinformation and inciting violence. There were also calls for a broader conversation about immigration and integration, with many arguing that the events in Southport underscored the need for greater efforts to foster understanding and cohesion within communities. The media's coverage of the Southport riots was extensive, with headlines capturing the drama and violence of the night. Images of the burning police van and injured officers dominated news broadcasts, drawing national and international attention to the small town. The narrative of the riots was shaped by the media, with various outlets offering differing perspectives on the causes and consequences of the unrest. Some media reports focused on the tragedy of the stabbings and the community's grief, highlighting the human cost of the violence. Others emphasized the broader social and political implications, framing the riots as a symptom of deeper issues within British society. The coverage, while comprehensive, also served to amplify the tensions and divisions within the community, with many residents feeling that their voices and concerns were being misunderstood or misrepresented. In the wake of the riots, efforts to rebuild and heal the community took on a new urgency. Local organizations and community groups played a crucial role in facilitating dialogue and promoting reconciliation. Initiatives were launched to support the victims' families, provide counseling to those affected by the violence, and address the underlying issues that had contributed to the unrest. Community leaders emphasized the need for empathy and understanding, urging residents to look beyond their differences and work together to rebuild their town. Public meetings and forums were held to allow residents to voice their concerns and share their experiences, fostering a sense of solidarity and shared purpose. These efforts, while challenging, were crucial in helping Southport begin the long process of recovery. The Southport riots served as a stark reminder of the importance of community cohesion and the dangers of allowing divisions and grievances to fester. The events highlighted the need for proactive measures to address underlying issues and promote understanding and integration within communities. They also underscored the role of effective communication and leadership in managing crises and fostering resilience. For Southport, the riots were a painful but ultimately transformative experience. The town's response to the tragedy and subsequent unrest demonstrated the strength and resilience of its residents. While the wounds left by the riots would take time to heal,
right now, this wall is being repaired. So this is the mosque outside where the violence happened, and there are teams of people coming who've come to help rebuild the walls. We've seen messages on social media from businesses saying, just let us know if you've had a wall destroyed and we will come and help do it. The road sweepers behind us clearing this area. You can see on the ground where the fire was. One police van was set on fire and the road is scorched here, but the local community really been out in force this morning to try and get things back to normal. People coming out, bringing drinks to them and making sure that they can get their community back.
The community's efforts to come together and rebuild offered a hopeful vision for the future. In the months and years following the Southport riots, the town continued to grapple with the legacy of the events. Ongoing support and resources were needed to help the community recover and address the deep-seated issues that had been exposed,
which we don't want to talk about. And then we've seen a situation last night. We had the vigil where thousands of us got together in front of Lord Street to show heart, compassion and unity, community spirit. And then we had this incident last night, and it's up to the police to determine who caused it, what caused it, but the mosque, as you see, was attacked. Whole areas, people's cars were set alight, you know, the damage was enormous. But the most essential thing is that the community came down here this morning. Contractors came here from all over the place, you know, landscapers, motorway contractors. And now we've seen at what time, it's probably about 9:15, 9:20, where this horrible thing happened last night, it's been cleaned away because the community have done that. And that's the most important thing we need to get across, is that no matter what happens in Southport, as a community, we will pull together and we will, you know, we'll drive ourselves forward. It's a fantastic town, it really is.
Efforts to promote dialogue and understanding remained a priority, with community leaders and residents working together to build a more inclusive and resilient Southport. In the wake of the riots, several initiatives were launched to help heal the community and rebuild trust. One of the most significant efforts was the establishment of a community advisory board composed of local leaders, law enforcement officials, and residents from diverse backgrounds. This board was tasked with overseeing the implementation of programs aimed at fostering community cohesion and addressing the concerns raised during and after the riots. One of the advisory board's first actions was to initiate a series of town hall meetings. These meetings provided a platform for residents to voice their concerns, share their experiences, and propose solutions. The aim was to create an open and inclusive environment where all members of the community could participate in the healing process. The town halls were well attended, reflecting the community's desire for change and their commitment to moving forward together. In addition to the town hall meetings, the advisory board worked to develop and implement several community programs. These included 1. Cultural exchange programs. To promote understanding and appreciation of different cultures, the board organized cultural exchange events. These events featured food, music, and traditions from various cultures represented within Southport. By celebrating diversity, the community hoped to break down barriers and build a sense of unity. 2. Youth engagement initiatives. Recognizing the importance of engaging young people in the rebuilding process, the advisory board launched several youth-focused programs. These included after-school activities, mentorship programs, and youth leadership workshops. The goal was to provide positive outlets for young people and equip them with the skills and confidence to become future leaders in their community. 3. Mental health support. The trauma experienced by residents during the riots highlighted the need for comprehensive mental health support. The board worked with local healthcare providers to offer counseling services and support groups for those affected by the violence. These services were made accessible to all residents, ensuring that everyone had the opportunity to receive the help they needed. 4. Community policing initiatives. To rebuild trust between the police and the community, the advisory board collaborated with law enforcement to implement community policing strategies. This included increased foot patrols, regular meetings between police officers and community members, and the establishment of a community liaison officer. These efforts aimed to foster positive relationships and improve communication between the police and residents. Education played a crucial role in the community's efforts to address the underlying issues that had contributed to the riots. Local schools took proactive steps to incorporate lessons on diversity, inclusion, and conflict resolution into their curricula. Teachers received training on how to facilitate discussions about sensitive topics and create a safe and supportive environment for students. In addition to changes within the classroom, schools partnered with community organizations to provide extracurricular activities focused on promoting understanding and empathy. These activities included workshops on cultural awareness, peer mediation programs, and service projects that brought students from different backgrounds together to work towards common goals. The impact of these educational initiatives was significant. Students reported feeling more connected to their peers and more aware of the importance of diversity and inclusion. Teachers observed a reduction in incidents of bullying and discrimination, and an overall improvement in the school climate. The riots also brought to light the socioeconomic inequalities that existed within Southport. Many residents felt that economic disparities had contributed to the tensions that erupted into violence. To address these issues, the Community Advisory Board worked with local government officials to develop strategies for economic development and job creation. One of the key initiatives was the establishment of a job training and employment center. This center provided residents with access to job training programs, career counseling, and employment resources. The goal was to equip individuals with the skills needed to secure stable employment and improve their economic prospects. In addition to job training, the advisory board advocated for investment in local businesses and the revitalization of struggling neighborhoods. Grants and low-interest loans were made available to small business owners, and efforts were made to attract new businesses to the area. These initiatives aim to create a more vibrant local economy and provide residents with greater opportunities for economic advancement. Throughout the process of rebuilding and healing, the community of Southport demonstrated remarkable resilience and determination. The riots had exposed deep wounds, but they also revealed the strength and solidarity of the community. Residents from all walks of life came together to support one another and work towards a brighter future. One particularly poignant example of this unity was the annual Day of Remembrance and Hope established by the community, held on the anniversary of the riots. This event brought residents together to honor the lives lost in the tragic stabbing at the Taylor Swift Dance School and reflect on the progress made in the aftermath of the riots. The day included a memorial service, community discussions, and activities designed to promote healing and reconciliation. The Day of Remembrance and Hope became a symbol of the community's commitment to moving forward together. It served as a reminder of the importance of understanding, empathy, and unity in the face of adversity. Each year, the event grew in size and significance, attracting participants from across the region and even garnering national attention. The quest for justice and accountability remained a central theme in the aftermath of the riots. The legal proceedings against the 17-year-old Rwandan man accused of the stabbings were closely followed by the community. Many residents felt a profound need for closure and justice for the young victims and their families. The trial was a complex and emotionally charged process. The defense and prosecution presented their cases, with the community watching intently. The court ultimately found the accused guilty, and he was sentenced to a lengthy prison term. While the verdict provided some measure of closure, it also served as a reminder of the deep scars left by the tragedy. In addition to the criminal trial, there were ongoing investigations into the riots themselves. Authorities worked to identify individuals responsible for the violence and hold them accountable. Several arrests were made, and those found guilty of participating in the riots faced legal consequences. The process of seeking justice was challenging, but it was a necessary step in addressing the community's pain and ensuring that such events would not be repeated. The Southport riots sparked a broader conversation about the state of community relations and social cohesion in Britain. The events in Southport were seen as a microcosm of larger issues facing the country, including debates over immigration, national identity, and social integration. The riots prompted reflection and discussion at the national level, with policymakers, community leaders, and citizens alike grappling with the lessons learned from Southport. One of the key takeaways from the riots was the importance of proactive measures to promote social cohesion and address underlying grievances. The need for inclusive policies, community engagement, and efforts to bridge divides became a focal point of national discourse. The Southport riots highlighted the dangers of neglecting these issues and underscored the potential for violence when tensions are allowed to fester. In response, there was a renewed emphasis on policies and initiatives aimed at fostering integration and promoting social harmony. Government programs focused on supporting disadvantaged communities, improving access to education and employment, and encouraging dialogue and understanding across different cultural and ethnic groups. These efforts, while challenging, were seen as crucial in preventing future conflicts and building a more cohesive society. The Southport riots were a tragic and painful chapter in the town's history, but they also served as a catalyst for change and reflection. The community's response to the tragedy and subsequent unrest demonstrated resilience, solidarity, and a commitment to healing. Through proactive efforts to address underlying issues, promote understanding, and rebuild trust, Southport began the process of recovery and renewal. The lessons learned from the Southport riots extend beyond the boundaries of the town itself. They serve as a reminder of the importance of community cohesion, the dangers of allowing divisions to fester, and the power of coming together in the face of adversity. As Southport moves forward, the experiences and insights gained from this dark chapter will continue to shape its path towards a brighter and more united future. The journey towards healing and unity is ongoing, but the progress made thus far offers hope and inspiration. Southport's story is one of tragedy, but also of resilience and hope. It is a testament to the strength of community and the enduring power of solidarity in overcoming even the most profound challenges. As Southport continues to rebuild and grow, the memory of the riots and the lessons learned will remain a guiding force, shaping a future where understanding, empathy, and unity prevail. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, could you leave your comments below and tell us, how do you think this situation should be addressed? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching and see you next time.